All right, everybody, thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, from realtors, lenders, builders, developers, residential or commercial, essentially gathering insight, inspiration, really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else in what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Our very special guest and feature titan today, Don White. Don, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much, Greg. I'm so excited. I've really been looking forward to it.
This is great. I mean, it's an honor to have you on the show. I know there's tons of anticipation for everybody to just dive in to get to know you a little bit better. And let's just kind of jump in. So
Okay.
Let's talk about, I guess, introducing yourself. Tell everybody a little about you.
Sure. So I'm a Colorado native.
Love it.
Been here my whole life. Obviously, that's what that means, right?
Well, a true native.
A true native, not
yes.
a transplant at any level.
Wow.
Born and raised in Inglewood, Colorado. Grew up, I graduated here in Aurora, South Aurora.
Okay.
And got to Colorado Springs by way of getting married and moving around a little bit and then landing back in Colorado Springs. It just took about 2 years, and now I will never, ever leave again.
Okay.
And so,
Awesome.
never leaving.
Yeah.
And so my son was born here,
Okay.
and subsequently have been able to just really engulf myself in the community.
Love it.
And you ask about kind of what have I done? My first job out of one semester of college was the front desk of a real estate company.
Get out of here, Don.
And
okay.
I've been in real estate my whole life.
Wow.
And so I have had a really unique opportunity to really kind of progress through learning the staff side and the back office side as I've been able to kind of progress through that.
Okay.
Some 33 years later.
33 years. I mean, Don, that's fantastic.
I know.
I mean, obviously seeing in that time frame so much change and adjustment with the industry and the market, and there's just tons of knowledge to be shared. So again, I'm just so glad that you're on the show.
I'm so excited too.
So going through your progression of your career, I mean, again, starting at the beginning to where you are today, could you walk us through that a little bit? What was your kind of transitions through your career?
Yeah, thanks for asking. That's
Yeah.
So again, I started at the front desk, and I started at the front desk, and many of the Colorado natives will remember Van Skok was a local, larger real estate franchise.
Okay.
And I was the front desk gal there, and kind of was asked to be a licensed assistant to a gentleman by the name of Jim Wanzik, who is still, I mean, he's someone you might want to go check out.
Hey, Jim, if you're watching, you might get a call.
You're right. And I was his a personal assistant, a licensed assistant back before there ever was such a thing. I mean, we're talking about the 80s here.
Okay.
And so I had the opportunity to do that, and was with him for a period of time through some RE/MAX stuff, and subsequently just kind of building my business as a licensed assistant.
Okay.
And so I was showing houses and writing contracts without having to take any of the risk, because keep in mind, I'm like 18, 19 years old.
Sure.
And back then, no way was there going to be a real estate ad, right?
Wow.
So, fast forward, my son's born, and we moved to Colorado Springs, and I land again in a RE/MAX here, RE/MAX Properties with Joe Clement and his group.
Yeah.
And again, a first licensed assistant for someone that many people know, John Ahrens. And I was his first assistant back in the day. It gives me goosebumps whenever I say his name. Working for John and Judy was just such a blessing for me. And I just loved, of course, John, and I still, I don't get to see Judy as much, but just really great people.
Okay.
And to be able to continue to develop that knowledge around kind of the backside, but also interacting with clients.
Okay.
Again, I'm still pretty young. Although I probably could have at that time gone to sell real estate, but now I'm a single mom.
Okay.
Right. So now I'm a single mom. I'm a little, I need the steady paycheck. I'm a little worried about going on my own, even as a buyer's agent, really.
Sure.
And so I continue to work with them until I'm given my next opportunity. And my next opportunity is to work for a builder by the name of Rhonda McDonald, and many of you will know her and Tom as the owners of Creekstone Homes.
Okay.
And so I moved from, personal assistant into the development and really the growth of Creekstone Homes. They opened in 1995, and I came over in 97 and had the opportunity to really work and help them for 10 years. And so, front desk, But then I was always licensed, so I was always selling all along the way.
Love it.
Sales manager for a couple of years. I got to work in the field, build a few houses, be construction manager. I was known as the warranty chick for a period of time. So it was really a super fun time for me.
Yeah.
A lot of stability in that and just really refreshing. And so I really, really enjoyed that time. About now it's 2007 and we all know what happens in 2007.
Ouch. Yes.
And so I decide as the building industry is just compressing and people are just being let go left and right, I'm ready, I think, to go out and just start my own gig. So I go out and I'm Don White and Company for 5 years.
Wow.
In arguably, and we all know this, right?
Yeah.
The worst time to go try and do that.
Truly,
So-
there's a lot of people that were in those exact shoes.
I
for
know,
sure.
right? And so 2007, I'm on my own, Don White and Company, working out of my house, and I do that for about 5 years. And about now, I'm starting to, no one ever brings cookies to my house. No one ever says, "Hey, we just came to see how you're doing." And it gets a little lonely in my room at the end of the hallway in my house, and so I'm not really looking per se, although I'm out, and many people know I'm out a lot.
Right.
And so I come across Keller Williams, and so I first was introduced through Paul Goldenbogen, and many people know Paul Goldenbogen. Such a love, just a dear person to me, and of course Ed Leba, and really enjoyed my time there.
Sure.
That's where I learned about coaching and training.
Okay.
So though training is a huge thing, I mean everyone knows about training, and we're familiar with many of the third-party coaching companies that come in and train and then do their thing. Keller Williams, just phenomenal program, and subsequent coaching program. That spoke to me.
Okay.
And so I really kind of connected in that way. I worked with them and of course they were the one that kind of opened that opportunity for me. So I'm ever so grateful that I had that opportunity. Subsequently got to go do a stint in Longmont with Bron Schutze and her team up there. And I was taken up there because my husband's was moved from construction into oil for a period of time. And he still has gone back now, but we came home about 3 years later, and I had the privilege to join with Joyce Hefner here at Client's Choice. And so Keller Williams is, I love Keller Williams, and mostly I love the opportunity to be able to really impact mostly new agents, but for sure agents that are struggling in some way in their business to be able to move forward. And so that's kind of the kind of where I've been and kind of how I've gotten to where I am.
Love it.
And it's been a really great ride, all real estate, and yet a little bit different.
But I mean, Don, that gives so much background and diversity to your knowledge and applied knowledge for really educating and coaching and growing. And that's why, you have the reputation you have and continue to, and the people that know you and love you understand this. I think that's a phenomenal background for people to really just get to know. If you're all right, let's shift gears a little bit. And let's go into the next question, which is, what's your why? I mean, what really drives you, Don, motivates you to do what you do to the level that you do it at?
So I've really had really a privilege to be asked that question a lot.
Okay, cool. All right,
and
here we go.
then be able to ask other people that question a lot. And so what's my big why? My big why, so personality assessments, love them or don't, whatever.
Sure.
I love the opportunity to do that. And one of the ones that helped me find this out was the Strengths Finders 2.0. And so I took the Strengths Finders 2.0 and I happened to take it with an organization that had a coaching program that went along with it.
Cool.
So I coached with this gentleman for like 6 weeks after that. I was able to identify my triangle, right? My top five talents. And what was interesting about that was those top 5 talents were motivation, maximization, activity. I can never remember the other one, probably because it's down low. And the last one is woo.
Woo. Okay. Yeah,
which really kind of fits with my, easily distracted by shiny objects things.
Sure.
And so what that did was it allowed me to put some words to what it is that really fires me up. And you can really ask anyone. My big why is to motivate and inspire others to achieve their dreams, take action, right, through coaching and training. And so I just want people to understand and trust and believe that their mind is where it all happens. And when they're able to really engage in what they believe and what's important to them, then they can put it on paper, create a plan, and step into that. It might change from now and again.
Sure.
And yet, when you're working in your passion zone, Greg, nothing's work.
Wow. That's so true.
You've heard that.
But that's so true, Don. And again, what I love about your why, and hopefully everybody's hearing and watching this right now and feeling this energy, is it really comes down to your giving. You want others to succeed. It's not you, your why. What drives you is others and others' levels of success. And that's so selfless. And again, that's such a beautiful thing that you bring to the table. And again, as a coach in that background, the heavy motivation and inspiration, it's there all day long. So
all day long.
This
all
is
day long.
great.
One of the next pieces to that I get to take out into the community
Yes.
is, so Keller Williams has a program called QL, a World Changer Mindset.
Okay.
And QL, a World Changer Mindset, is a youth program that's a one-day workshop. And it allows me to work with young adults. So the target is kind of 18 to 24, and yet I like to take it into maybe 16, maybe as low as 14 to 24, because one thing they don't teach in school ever is really how to think.
Well said.
Right?
Yeah.
So they teach how to do math and science and all those things, and they never really give you the why you should know how to do those things, or why it is why you're interested in them.
Right.
And so the program allows people the first morning or the morning of it is to help young people find their passion, and maybe even begin at 18 or 16 to determine what is their why. As they can begin to discern, do I want to save the world, or do I want to save my family? Do I want to be a good mom? Do I want to be a school teacher? What is it that I want to do? If we can then break that down into why and get them emotionally attached to it, now the money's not a problem, the school's not a problem, the support's nothing's a problem.
Wow.
If you can get them in the path, they'll get there more quickly, they'll have a more rewarding life, younger.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you know that you're getting right to the meat of it is what's the driving force behind it, and attaching the passion, as you were saying, is crucially important. I mean, you could be good at something, but if you're not passionate about it, it comes through.
It does.
People know these things. They can see it, especially to a lot of the professionals that are watching or listening to this. They understand from the sales standpoint, human engagement, this is a people business that we're in.
All day, every day.
So I love that.
Yeah.
And your involvement, again, giving back to the community and who you are as a person, a professional, it's huge, Don. This is great stuff. So I want to go into the next question. This is actually a crowd pleaser.
Okay.
And a lot of the viewers of this particular series, they want to know what the Titans do or have done to grow their business. So if you could look back at your career thus far, and pick or choose one or two things you added that took it from one level to the next. What's that look like for you, Don?
So I'm not sure if it's an added question, Greg,
Okay.
as much as it is being willing to try new things and risk.
I love it. Okay.
So one of the things my sister says, and she's a dermatology PA, and is she's always enamored with how I'm able to recreate myself all the time.
Okay.
And so when you ask about growth, I think it starts by first acknowledging that I'm not done. And so what's the next thing? I'm a big, and many of my friends will say, oh, don't. At first when I was moving into my 40s, my thing was I want to ride the MS 150, which is a 150-mile bike ride in 2 days by the time I'm 40. Well, I didn't even have a bike. Okay. So, you got to get a bike.
Goals,
you got to get a bike. You got to go. And I did do that by the time I was done being 40.
Okay.
The next one was, and I have ridden that now, I rode it for 10 years in a row.
Get out.
The next one was I wanted to run a 5K, and I'm not a runner really. I wanted to run a 5K by the time I was done being 50, and I never didn't have shoes, so I had to buy shoes and run that. Hiking a 14er, some of those types of things. The next thing on my list is a sprint triathlon end of August, and I keep saying this, and I'm going to say it out loud like the whole world, and this is really scary. You know how weight loss thing? Yeah, bodybuilding might do it.
Wow.
We'll see. I'm still
go.
figuring that out. Although so I need a thing, and so as it relates to my business, which is what you're asking me about, what's the next thing? And so of course it was getting my real estate license, and then it was being hitting some milestone or some award, and having my own business, and now it's transforming new agents' expectations as they join real estate to understand that they can make $100,000 in their first year or more.
Sure.
This whole it takes 24 months to get your business off the ground or 12 months is baloney.
Right.
When you know the goal and you're able to back in and you've got somebody with their hand in the back, in your back to kind of help you forward.
Well said.
I think that's my goal really right now is just to cause more of that.
Love it.
Yeah, I'm real excited about it. I'm not sure really what my next step is as far as with my business. Of course, MAPS coaching is always a possibility. Some professional level coaching is something that is probably in my future in the next few years for sure.
No doubt.
And then of course I'm past the 50 as I gave away a little bit ago, and I mean I don't want to have to work forever, although coaching is something I probably will do forever.
I was going to say, and it's a part of your passion, so
Oh, man.
it's not work, right?
yeah,
I mean,
it's not.
and that's
right
so in line with everything that you do as a person and a professional. A lot of takeaways, and hopefully everybody's taking this away as well, for me is you're constantly evolving and you're changing, and I think that just moving forward and not staying stagnant is great advice for everybody to take away, no matter where you are in your career, whatever career path it may be. Just keep moving forward and learning and growing, surrounding yourself with great people.
Absolutely.
And you'll see it come to fruition. But don't, at least to me, don't look at one thing and say, this is what I'm going to do forever. I mean, we're always changing. Life changing, relationships, the economy, consumer behavior, technology. I mean, that's the one consistent in this world is change. So I love that message. So hopefully everybody wrote that down. This is huge advice. This is great stuff, Dawn. So I want to go into the next series question here. And this one is the tricky part of this interview. It's the challenge question. So I always lead into it with we all have challenges in our lives. No one's exempt. Whether it's in the past, now, or into the future, we all deal with it. But at the end of the day, it's not so much, I think, what happens, but how we respond and what we learn from. So if you're comfortable sharing a challenge, Dawn, what's that look like for you?
So when I was thinking about that, it was interesting because I really did struggle with, what are some of the challenges that I've had to experience in my life?
Right.
And I've had many of the same ones that many of you have had. I divorced, and then I was a single mom, and then I changed jobs, and then I was in the devastating downturn of, 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Right?
Keep going.
Keep going. Yeah, we've moved a couple of times. We've dealt with the short sale situation. And so I think for me personally, it's really not so much about what the challenge is, but how I'm overcoming the challenges. One of my favorite books right now, I've read it several times, is called Peaks and Valleys. And I can't remember who it's by, and I should. I've read it enough times. I can totally remember the book cover. Peaks and Valleys. And it talks about, the kind of the essence of it is our lives are a series of peaks and valleys. And the challenge is how do you get from peak to peak more quickly and out of the valley more quickly.
I love
and so it's such a great little book. And really it's all about what do you got going on up here in your head, and who are you surrounding yourself with? What's the self-speak that you use? And understanding that everybody experiences challenge, because without challenge, there is no growth.
So true.
Right? Without challenge, there's nothing, there's no growth. And so being willing and actually open to challenge, and maybe at some level, not looking for trouble, of course, and yet looking for ways to grow. And when you find yourself, feeling like you're back on your laurels going, yeah, this is awesome.
I got this.
Going, ooh, I'm in trouble now. Now I'm in trouble. I'm going to have to figure out how to get uncomfortable to be able to move through that. So challenge to me is almost a sign that something good is happening, some growth is happening, things are good. It's a good thing.
I think that's brilliant, and I love the way that you presented that for everybody to really absorb. To me, that's so important to say and know. And when I'm looking and listening at what you're really going through, it's your mindset. And there's so many professionals that they play mind games and they put barriers and limitations in their thought process. Try to be more positive, surround yourself with positive people like Dawn specifically, who are going to help motivate you and push you and break that down so that you can really live the fullest, best life that you possibly can. I think that's so brilliant what you said there. So You're welcome, everybody. Dawn is on the show. This is amazing. Dawn, that was so good. And thanks for sharing. I mean, obviously, you aired out a bunch of things, and as you stated, everybody deals with so many different layers of challenges, but just keep pushing, keep moving forward, and understanding that mindset's everything. I love that. So I do want to go into a slightly softer question.
Okay.
Now, this one actually is my favorite. It's the travel back in time question. So if you could travel back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice or two, any age range, any time frame, what would you say to young Dawn?
So I would say to young Dawn, in my probably 20s, I think. I had a beautiful childhood. My parents were awesome. I mean, I got to do. It was a great. I mean, there's nothing I can think of in my childhood really, and yet what I know is that whatever it is that wherever it is you find yourself in. And so for me, it was real estate.
Okay.
And when given the path, understanding that fear, right? Everybody is afraid. And fear back in the old days was you better run because there's a lion coming. And today, fear is an indicator that you're growing and something new is happening. That's really all. It's just, this is new and I don't quite understand what's happening. And so I'm afraid or I'm uncomfortable. And I think that I would tell myself, really push through. Be afraid and do it anyway. Be afraid and know that that means you're doing it right. I say this in my classes all the time. If you don't feel like your hair's on fire and you don't feel like you're a little bit sick, you're probably not doing it right.
Oh man, I love that.
And I would use that. I would use that with myself at a much earlier, younger age. I think back specifically to when my son was little and I had the opportunity to go sell real estate. And I chickened out. I was like, it's just too scary. I mean, I don't know if I could do it without the income and this and that. And what I know is, and again, had I known then what I know now about certain things like lead generation and time blocking and scripts and some of the silver bullets that are available today, I would have been a phenomenal real estate broker. I'd probably on a small island somewhere, and not even maybe I still would probably be doing this, but
come on, for the people, for the people.
At any rate, I think that would be true. And so it's whatever it is that you're drawn to, get in it and then push through to the end, and don't quit and don't give up and be consistent and be persistent until you get there. Until you get there.
I'm inspired sitting right here. I'm thinking in my head, oh my gosh, I just need to go for it. Because we all have fear and anxiety, and I agree with you. And anybody who's saying they don't, I think they're not being really truthful to themselves. We all have those awkward situations or tendencies, or even things that will really, really make us nervous or scared. To me, in the process, how I was brought up is, as you said, if you're not feeling that anxiety or that fear, then you're really probably not in the right place. And you should always be in that uncomfortable nature, as you said earlier on in this particular episode. So I think that's huge advice for everybody to take away, myself included, and everybody watching or listening. That is great stuff. So I do want to go into a little bit more of the education portion. Further advice for everybody to grow, as Dawn has and continues to. This is the feeding of the mind question. So I always lead into it with books you're reading or have read, podcasts you're listening to or listen to, coaches, influencers. How are you feeding your mind, Dawn? So the answer is yes. Kind of to all of that. All of it, right? And so primarily, if you're not subscribing to Audible, you need to subscribe to Audible. Love it. Okay.
I am I can read, of course. And yet when I open the book and read, I find myself, asleep in T-minus 4 minutes. And so I have really not read much in my experience, in my world. And about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I learned about Audible, and now I am easily consuming 3 books, 4 books a month.
I love that.
And all of us, especially real estate professionals, I know you, almost everybody is on the road a significant amount of time, and we're listening to the news. Okay, whatever. Right? And music even really today. I mean, and if you would spend even just an hour a day listening to Audible, and we're all in the car that long, you'd be able to clear through some of these books. And so Audible is one thing. And so with that, I've been able to read books by, the one I'm reading right now is Grant Cardone's 10X.
Oh, great, yeah.
If you've not read, and all of a sudden Grant Cardone is all over my Facebook, And I'm
He knows. He knows.
and he's on the, and now I recognize, oh yeah, he's the guy on the radio station.
Uh-huh.
And so Grant Cardone with 10X, of course, everything Gary Keller, right? So
Sure.
the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book as a real estate professional is not a Keller Williams book. It is a basic real estate business book. And so the 4 models are instrumental in success. And so that's in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, followed up by Shift. And Shift is ever so appropriate right now.
Great.
If we're not in a, if you don't feel like we're in a shift, you're probably not selling enough real estate to recognize it. It's a shift. And you want to be able to know how to work through that. And that book gives you some really great recommendations on what to do next.
Okay.
And then the One Thing. The One Thing book, and there's a podcast that goes along with that, is another phenomenal book that really helps with being able to focus and get all the noise and all the static that's around in all of our worlds focused in on what is the most important thing, such that by doing that, everything else